Hello guys, so today we are going to discuss about the ureter. So here is our kidney and here is our urinary bladder. So you know that in the kidney all the uh, reabsorption and secretion will take place and ultimately it will form the filtrate, and then this filtrate will transfer to the pelvis, okay, or renal pelvis. So renal pelvis, it will travel to the urinary bladder, that filtrate, and it will store in the urinary bladder in the form of urine, okay. So the process by which it will reach the urinary bladder, the filtrate will reach the urinary bladder from the kidney to the urinary bladder with the help of a structure known as ureter, okay, with the help of a structure known as ureter. Okay, so it will move like this. Okay, so there are basically two ureters. Okay, so I will note it down by point. So there will be two ureter which will generally descend from the kidney. Okay, then if you see the structure of ureter, it is generally retroperitoneal. So ureter are retroperitoneal. That means in the back side of the body, okay, in back side of the peritoneal region. That's why if you have a stone in the ureter, you will feel pain in the back side, not in the front side. Okay, the third point which we have to remember, the principal function of the ureter is to transport urine from the renal pelvis into the urinary bladder. Okay, so its principal function is to transfer, okay, to transport the urine from the renal pelvis into the urinary bladder. So renal pelvis will be here, somewhere here. This is the renal pelvis area. Okay, so this renal pelvis will further divide into major calyces and minor calyces. Okay, so this is the third point. The fourth point which we have to remember is each ureter is basically an extension of pelvis of the kidney. So this is the pelvis. So basically this pelvis will extend and it will form the ureter. Okay, so each ureter is basically, and this ureter will be wider at the pelvis region, and as it goes down, okay, as it goes down, it will become narrower and narrower, and ultimately it will enter the urinary bladder. So the next point is that this ureter will connect to the urinary bladder posteriorly, means from the back side. Okay, from the back side of the urinary bladder it will connect. Okay, so the connection will be in such a way that the angle will be in oblique in nature. Okay, and the significance of this oblique angle which makes this ureter with the urinary bladder, we will be discussing in the urinary bladder topic. So this ureter generally leaves the kidney posterior to the renal vessel, and it connects to the urinary bladder posteriorly. Means the renal vessel, that is the renal arteries, okay, and the renal vein, okay. So it will be in the anterior side, okay, and the renal pelvis, the ureter, will be in posterior side. So that means that ureter will leave the kidney posterior to the renal vessels. Okay, so the next point is point number 7. So generally the length of the ureter from the pelvis to the urinary bladder is 25 to 30 centimeters. That means this whole distance, okay, from renal pelvis to the urinary bladder, the length will be around 25 to 30 centimeters. And this urine will move from the renal pelvis to the urinary bladder with the help of peristaltic contraction of the ureter smooth muscle. But the gravity and the hydrostatic pressure will also contribute. Okay, so next point is, so this urine is carried through ureter primarily by the peristaltic movement of the ureter smooth muscle contraction, but this gravity and hydrostatic pressure will also contribute. And this peristaltic movement will initiate by the pacemaker cells present in the proximal renal pelvis. Okay, so this is point number 8. Next, move on to the point number 9. Okay, so this ureter will generally pass inferiorly over the abdominal surface of the psoas major muscle. So what this ureter will pass inferiorly over the abdominal surface of psoas major, which will be present in the pelvic region of the downside portion of the body. Okay, so I strongly recommend to see some of the images in the Google about the stress measure. So as the right ureter travels downside, it will cross the posterior. It will cross duodenum posteriorly, and further down, if it goes, it will cross the branches of superior mesenteric vessels. So, just like right ureter will pass through duodenum and superior mesenteric vessels, the left ureter will travel laterally to the inferior mesenteric vessel, and subsequently it will cross by its branches. And lastly, this ureter will enter the urinary bladder from lateral to medial and posterior to anterior, making an oblique angle in the urinary bladder. And this oblique angle will prevent the backflow of the urine present in the urinary bladder into the ureter when this urinary bladder contracts. That means this, if you see the urinary ureter, this will move posteriorly. Okay, first it will move laterally and then it will move towards the medial. Okay, and then it will move from posterior to the anterior. Okay, so this is the posterior part, and this is the your urinary bladder, and then it will move to the posterior to the anterior. Okay, it will open into the urinary bladder. Now basically, if we do a cross section of the ureter, we generally find three layers, that is mucosa, lamina propria, and the muscularis. Okay, so mucosa, this is the mucosa, lamina propria, and the muscularis, and an outer superficial layer of adventitia. Okay, so if we take a cross section, so we find these three layers: mucosa, lamina propria, and muscularis, an outer superficial layer of adventitia. Now, the inner layer, the mucosa, is generally consist of transitional epithelium. Okay, transitional epithelium, and this transitional epithelium can change its shape and size, and it will be very helpful during the stretching of the ureter during the peristaltic movement. Now, this lamina propria consists of your areolar connective tissue and with some amount of collagen, elastic fiber, and lymphatic tissues. Okay, and this areolar connective tissue will connect the inner layer, that is the mucosa, with the muscle layer, that is the muscularis. So, this lamina propria is generally a areolar connective tissue with some amount of your collagen, elastic fiber, and lymphatic tissues. And this outer layer, the muscularis layer, is generally consist of two types of muscle fibers: the inner longitudinal muscle fiber and the outer circular muscle fiber. So this will be inner will be longitudinal muscle fiber, and the outer will be circular muscle fiber. And interestingly, this is just opposite to the gastrointestinal tract, where there will be a circular inner, in the inner there will be circular muscle fiber, and in the outer there will be a longitudinal muscle fiber. And the superficial layer, the superficial outer layer, which is known as adventitia, is composed of areolar connective tissue. And during some pathogenic conditions, solid made up of calcium deposits like calcium oxalate, magnesium salt, or crystals of uric acid may form within ureter. Okay, and these solids are generally known as caliculi or kidney stones, very famously known as kidney stone. And their presence, the presence of this kidney stone or caliculi, will result in a painful condition known as nephrolithiasis. Okay, so it is called nephrolithiasis. And with this, we have completed the topic structure and function of ureter. So I hope you like the video. So please do press the like button, and uh, try, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel so that you can get more videos like this. Thank you very much for listening to this video patiently. Thank you very much.